Very good. So all of your microphones are on, I think. So thanks for that. So look, I'm going to go with the oldest client on this panel in the form of Paula here, second in. So Paula, you and I have done a lot of work, and your lovely husband John, wherever he is, over many years. I think you started in about 2012 or 13, somewhere back there. And you have had a lot of adversity in that time, particularly the sort of the starting years. So in terms of your journey, maybe just give everyone, 45 seconds overview. It's hard to do that. After you joined EUP, you had an accident 2 weeks later. What happened in the next 2 to 3 years in your first year, 2-3 years of coaching?
I guess I managed to lose a leg in that journey. And yeah, I guess for us it was more about keeping the wheels turning on our business, with actually me not being in it, because I found myself in a Sydney hospital, a long way from the Sunshine Coast, and having to learn to walk again, which took approximately 758 days.
Who's counting? Look, amazing courage to get through that adversity. So if you had a couple of points, we talk about people being outside their comfort zone, perturbation when they start their journey. I don't think anyone will ever, rile your type of journey there at the front end. So if you had 2 points on pushing through perturbation that everyone's going to write down now, what do you reckon they would be, please, Paula?
I would have to say setting goals. For me, it was at the time minute by minute, and I had to set goals to just get through each minute of the day. To wake up and know that I had to face the rest of my life with only one leg at the age of 42 was pretty overwhelming. So it became minute by minute, hour by hour, until eventually, 7 years down the track, we're setting goals still month by month. So yes, definitely setting goals is what really helped me.
Okay, good. And we'll talk about this with other people up here, is that, you joined with a cleaning business, actually 2 cleaning businesses, and what happened there? You ended up in a completely different industry based on, your pathway. So, tell everyone a little bit about how you end up going from cleaning into one of Queensland's biggest art and framing businesses.
Yeah, I guess the first thing we had to do was build our business back up, because I'd been out of it for so long, and John was having to do family more than business, and we'd lost a lot of our clients and a lot of our commercial work. So our coaching journey first started with being able to rebuild a business that was utterly and completely broken. We did that, and with the learnings that we've had through coaching, we learnt to look at numbers, and really we were able to sell our 2 cleaning businesses, and we purchased Sunshine Coast Art and Framing Gallery with the knowledge that we then had. We knew what to be looking for in regards to purchasing a business that both John and I could work in.
Mm. And you bought a business that you weren't technically skilled at.
When we looked at this business, my first words to Bruiser was, I know nothing about art, and I don't even know who that Van Gogh person is. And now we absolutely love it, and we're kicking goals. So.
Very good. And I think you've tripled that company in the last 2.5, 3 years. So
yep,
it's amazing. Give that a hand. Great turnaround. So I want to stay on numbers. I'll go Chris down the end there. So, in terms of your journey, I know you'll just give a quick overview of who you are when you get to answer here, Chris, but I want to just talk on numbers, because in terms of someone in the first, second year of coaching, applying a lot of what we talked about with critical drivers and KPIs, you and your company have probably done, one of the top 1 or 2 or 3 I've ever seen in 20 years of doing this. So let's spend a bit of time on numbers and what value you've taken from doing that in terms of being able to do a multi-site business. But tell us a bit quickly of who you are and then answer the question, mate.
So I'm Chris Hyatt. We're from Imaleki in Townsville. We've got an office in Townsville, an office in Brisbane. For us, probably the biggest couple of takeaways that we've had is from when it comes to numbers is we're always really good at doing numbers, we thought, but it's accountability really, because numbers make you accountable. As Bruiser said before, if you don't track them, you can't manage them, and we've definitely done that. I thought I was pretty good at it before I met Bruiser, but I realised I wasn't sort of even scratching the surface. Really, having the numbers and being accountable for the numbers has really just given us the ability to sort of see problems coming faster. And as we've grown, it's sort of, in the past, we were getting numbers, I think before we started with Bruce, like 6 weeks out from the end of a month before we have the numbers from that previous month. And it was just too slow, and as we were growing, it was really limiting us because we didn't really know the picture. As we've gone, we've slowly getting that down, getting it more and more closer to the end of the month. When we started with Bruce, it went from like 6 weeks down to sort of 2 weeks, and just recently we've even got it down to sort of weekly. So being accountable for those numbers allows us to make those decisions better because we've got data to back them up. And you can sort of see problems coming before they become a problem. We used to have a lot of dramas with doing construction jobs. Poor Damien would be managing the job, and he'd also estimate the jobs too. So we'd go ahead and do the job, but he was so busy doing the project managing of the job, he wasn't estimating. So we get to the end of the job and we didn't have anything to back it up. So now we're sort of a little bit more onto that, I suppose, and see it coming earlier, and put measures in place to fix it before it becomes a problem, with lead generation, sales, and things like that. Good example is just recently we had a really big problem we install solar panels, and if you signed up for a solar system with us in December last year, we wouldn't have been installing until April, which is terrible. We were far out selling more than we could physically install. So we fixed that fulfillment problem, but halfway through fixing that fulfillment problem, we knew the next constraint would be the sales problem. So we ramped up lead generation before it got to that problem, and now we're sort of matching nicely. So I guess, if you don't have those numbers, you're sort of a bit more reactive. That's what we found in the past, and it's been a bit of a blessing in disguise having those numbers to make those more informed decisions, which, I guess gives me less grey hairs at the end of the day. So.
Awesome. Well said, man. Thank you. Ryan, I'm going to go up here close to me. So, Ryan, I want you to, after you tell everyone what you do, I sort of did a little bit there on the microphone for you there earlier, but in terms of coming with a business when you first started coaching compared to 4 years down the track, being in a completely different stratosphere in many ways, not only in the results side, but also the choice of the business. I'm interested to hear from you around the evolution that happens for yourself, and maybe it's a bit of a mirror for some other people.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. So Ryan Olive and Central Queensland Livestock Depot. So we're a registered premises for live export and also a feedlot operation based just out of Rockhampton. When I first come to Bruce, I was flying a helicopter and had a small helicopter operation based out of home. And the big distinction, Bruce, is probably becoming clear on the numbers and making those decisions based on numbers, not emotion. And that sort of led me to just sell out of the helicopter, give that away. And
Was that tough when you did that?
yeah, I know one of the things you talk about a lot is a burn the boat moment. And that was a burn the boat moment for me. So I actively decided to sell that because I knew if I kept it, a few people around me said, just keep it and just, have a go at these other things. You can always go back to that. But that was definitely a burn the boat moment because once it was gone, I couldn't go back. And it was tough for a while. The first 6 months was pretty steady and pretty slow. But yeah, things started steamrolling after that. But to answer your question again, I like Warren Buffett saying when he says, opportunity doesn't come often. When it does, when it's raining gold, take a bucket, not a thimble. So where the opportunity is,
Love that.
take the opportunity when it's there because it's not there often.
Yep, and you've certainly done that. I mean, the amount of cattle you've put through that set of yards that you've got is big, and there's more coming. So, and then I suppose my other question. I mean, you've also you've done a huge amount of personal development. I would have to say you're in the probably top 10% on people in this room in terms of investing in yourself. I still remember the sign up when we first started working together. I remember you said you just paid it a year in advance and said, let's do this. I'm fully 100% committed. I'm all in. And you've taken that probably same, even outside of what we do here at EBS. So, give us a bit of insight to some of the other learnings, courses that you'd recommend to this room. Grab a pen, everyone. You should be writing notes on this already. But what are the ones that you would say has been a big lift in your industry? And if you think about agriculture too, is that a lot of people don't do personal development in agriculture. Would that be a fair kind of?
Yeah, that's definitely a fair statement. Like, it's a comment I make quite a lot is that there's a lot of people in agriculture especially, they're not outgoing on that front. They really are reserved and it's sort of like a taboo topic. But to answer your question, Bruce, Money and You, so that's they do that in Brisbane. I know they do it in Perth, and I'm sure they're doing it in other majors as well. That there's in my top 3, Money and You, and there's also another one that is run in conjunction with Money and You. It's the Business School of Excellence, and this year it's actually run in Australia. That one there has probably opened my reality up a lot more, like just completely eliminated so many limiting beliefs that I had. It basically allowed me to see that anything's achievable if you put your mind to it.
Awesome. Good top 2. Thank you. Marie, I'm going to go down to you there. So once you tell everyone a little bit about your real estate business, I mean, you and Mark in the room have done an amazing job in the last few years of working together. You're now in one of the boards of directors for the last few years. But, your results in the business and also what you've done on wealth, most people, if you said it to the average punter down the street, they'd probably not believe you. So maybe give an overview firstly on your business and what you've been able to achieve in the last 4 years of coaching, please.
Mark and I own a real estate agency in Coolum, and we've grown our sales team through, I suppose I could say the coaching that Bruce has given us has really helped us with leverage. Leverage has allowed us to do so much, and not just personally, but creating wealth as well. So with our leverage, we've been able to train people to take over sales, while Mark has actually then had more time to actually spend on wealth creation and also personal lives. Like, we love going on holidays now. We know that the team is working really hard with the office and that things are running smoothly. We never get phone calls. It's just awesome having that leverage to actually take time off and enjoy life. The other thing that I think the coaching journey has really done with Bruce is actually giving us some ideas of like the cigar box. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but I mean like putting money away and hiding it, in different currencies even we've done that, in a safe at home, so it's like just that little emergency. And then we've also put away 3 months of cost of running the business money as well. So that's in an account that I don't look at all, it's just sitting there. So when COVID hit last year, we were thinking, we might have to dig into this emergency fund, but thank God we never did, so it's still just sitting there, but it was so comforting knowing that that money was there. And it's always allowed us this leverage of time and money management to actually have a profit account. And within that profit account this year, we've purchased an apartment at Peregian Beach, which we paid totally out cash for. And then we've also bought a commercial premises in Baringa, which is positively geared at 7.5%. So thanks, Bruce. You've helped us a long way with our wealth creation as well.
Awesome. Great results. Give her a hand on that one. So what's probably one or two big, or if you had to give some advice, particularly for the people in their first 2-3 years of coaching, Marie, what 1-2 pieces of advice you would give for the more newer folk in the room? Grab a pen, everyone.
Wow, that's a tough one. 2 or 3, there's so many. Take lots of notes. I always take so many notes and I colour code them. And when you go to Money and You, which is stupid if you don't go, honestly, you'll learn to write everything in colour pens, and that it just gets your brain activated, and therefore you know within your mind what you really need to work on. So your goal setting, it's really, I would say goal setting is a really big thing that I would say is a great thing to have in your beginning journey with Bruiser, and he helps you a lot with how to achieve those goals.
Awesome, thank you. Scotty, I'm going to go right in the centre there, mate. So you were going to tell everyone about your business, but you've had a hell of an increase, particularly for the size of the business that you run as well. Maybe just tell the folk kind of what your top line, or where it's come from in the last couple of years. Has been a massive increase, but in terms of managing and growing that amount of people, I'm interested on the people front. It's not to say that you don't still have a few challenges, but in terms of the mastery that you've done on the people front, I'd like to kind of hear a bit about that with yourself, mate, please.
Yeah, thanks, Bruiser, for the intro. Scott here from Landscapes. We've got some team here today, so thanks for those guys. We're a commercial revegetation and landscaping business. We've got some bases throughout Queensland, Sunshine Coast, Gladstone, Rockhampton, Townsville, Mackay. We focus primarily on, the construction side of things of landscaping, whether that be the revegetation, regrassing, turfing, or even just the landscaping around like an old people's home or something like that. The larger jobs come from over the hill. We call over the hill in the mining side of things, so where they tear the coal out or every other resource, and then there's rehabilitation come on the other side. So that's where we're making it green. So we...
What's your numbers? Give everyone a little bit of insight there.
Thanks for the cue. Yeah, our numbers, I guess, I bought the business nearly 10 years ago now as a going concern. Mum and dad operation, and I can tell you that's got a lot of challenges of those out there that have done that before. So, in the order of around about turnover of, 3.5-4 sort of million per annum. And then we sort of, we bought at the top, young, enthusiastic, need to get into business, sick of being on the wage, everyone's red cash flow quadrant, got to get out of the rat race. Also with that, it doesn't meet, youth with enthusiasm doesn't beat age and treachery. So we got on a slippery slide, and I say that, we rode it on our balls all the way down to the vinegar. And at the bottom we're at 1.8, turnover. So we were there, and thinking, what are we going to do? We diversify, and when the going's good, you can narrow up your scope and really aim for it. The bullet's there earlier today. So we actually widened out the scope and started machine gunning across the show, and building systems and processes that we knew that you needed to do to grow. I mean, an orange grows with system. It doesn't do it randomly. It has system how it grows. So a belief in that, the systems run the business and people run the systems. But that took a long time to come. So get back to the 1.8. Over a number of years, we kept stepping it up. The last 3 consecutives, I think we've gone, 5, 7s, 11s, 15s. So that's pretty big, from where we were. It's another 0 on the end of the turnover, and that wasn't without the team. So get onto that third point of team, and I guess I was a very young punk with a previous life in a large organisation that did focus on people and systems leadership theory, and I guess it didn't really resonate. I mean, you don't take note then because it wasn't for me. And then, coming to Bruiser, it was like, hang on a minute, he's flogging this same stuff at me that I've seen before, and it was 16 years previous, and regurgitating, digging it up, and having belief in it. The belief in the people, in the leadership systems theory and people management. It is a science. There's certainly process in it, and once it's refreshed. One thing I'll take, and I do steal from Bruiser quite a bit, is script. I don't get him to write it, but I listen actively and try and retain that as best I can, so that for those conversations I have with people where I need to, that I've got a bit of a strategy, and I don't always get it right, guarantee you. Sometimes I've execution problems like everybody, I suppose, but there's a learning opportunity there, and then the good thing about people is most of the time there's forgiveness there, and you can sort of weather that storm and have another go. So I call it the Kodak. If the shot doesn't turn out, take another one. So I guess that's the challenge there. And leverage, I mean, it was mentioned here, leverage big time. I've got it on my wall, I look at it, and leverage for me about implementing team is those team. If you've got the dogs, get them to bark. So but to get there, there's a lot of leadership that's got to be, and you got to eat your own cooking. I mean, using all the the analogies Bruce has, it's not easy. I mean, I'll probably come down to Bruce and not whinge about it, but I guess I'll talk about it. It's challenging and that sort of stuff. So if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it, So and if you apply yourself, get back into those textbooks. I mean, I've got a bookcase of that, and then you go back and do the application of it. So note taking. I mean, actually go and have a look at Ryan Oliver's notes. They're pretty neat, and it's got lots of colours. But you got to look at those notes and go back over them and then apply it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well said. Hopefully you got a few of Scotty's sayings down there too. So just in terms of the last bit before we take some questions, I'm going to ask each of you, I know it's a big question, top 2, 3 biggest learnings out of coaching. I know I went more specific there on each of you, so I'll start down the end there. Chris, top 1 or 2 big learnings. Maybe write their name down and their 1, 2 or 3 that you're about to hear. So Chris, start with you, man.
As I said before, accountability is a big one. I probably got 3. I couldn't narrow it down to 2. Accountability, having accountability for you as the leader of that business. It's really easy to blame team or the accountant or the bookkeeper or God knows customers. But one thing that we're all sort of doing a lot more now is owning those problems. We're the leader of that business, so ultimately it all comes back to us. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'd probably say theory of constraints. Massive one for us, as I said before, knowing that if you have a fulfillment problem and you fix that, chances are the very next one's going to be sales. So if you're on your way to fixing one, start, rather than being reactive, be proactive and start working on the next constraint, which you know is coming right up its arse. Third, I'd probably say disc profiling. For me, professionally and personally, it's been a game changer for me. I'm a high C and a high D. I'm no people person at all. Having a deeper understanding of me, who I am, gives me a lot of perspective dealing with other people, and I find myself now habitually, I've taught myself to do it, when I'm talking to anyone new, I'm sitting there analysing, trying to figure out what they are. And I manipulate myself, because I know my disc profile, I'll manipulate to give them what they need to enhance that relationship. I use it with my wife, I use it with my kids, I use it with my team members, customers. I use it in every aspect of my life. So it's been a huge distinction for me, yeah.
I love that self-awareness. Everyone write that down. Would you also put flipping into that as well?
Without a doubt.
It's
it's disc profile basically broken down in, I think, 12 subcategories. So it goes in a lot greater detail. So
good. Thanks, Chris. Let's give Chris a hand on those. Thank you, mate. Marie, top 1, 2, 3.
Have to agree with the disc, but I'm not going to talk about that because you did. But I would say mirroring. When we're in board meetings or even just like networking like this and listening to other people's problems, and mirroring that goes on that you think, oh my goodness, that's our business as well. And you can learn so much by just listening and taking on board, advice for that poor person when they're going through that on the board. And then you think, wow, I can really learn heaps. So mirroring is a big one. The law of vacuum applies in so many things, not just it's time, it's your health, it's wealth, it's creation of money, everything. You just apply it to every facet of your life, relationships, fun, everything. So that law of vacuum is really, I find that a really good sort of flip chart that you use. And as I mentioned before, leverage. Leverage is, once again, you can put that in terms of time, money, relationships, business, everything. Yeah, so those are my top 3.
Thanks, Marie. Give her a hand, everyone. Well done, Marie. Righto, Scotty, what do you got? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, thanks, Bruiser. I wanted to be the first because these guys have stolen a couple that I was thinking, so now I'm on my feet thinking.
You should be at the end.
It's okay, Ryan, you got it.
So I will regurgitate a little bit of material because that's what I prepared for, but the one that hasn't been mentioned yet is beliefs and your systems of beliefs, understanding that everybody has a belief system and that's what makes them up, and then looking at how you can adjust that belief system. And there was some discussion around one of our tables there was that I wasn't worthy, I didn't need to be anything or do anything more than what I needed to do just to keep my nose above the water. Or, we didn't come from much as a family, and not believing that or even knowing that anything else could exist out there in terms of business. Like, if your parents don't know anything about money, which mine didn't, how are you expected to? And just changing that as a paradigm shift for me anyway, in terms of that belief system and Bruiser backing that up. I mean, even if you do know it and you've written it down, it's the reinforcement and the application of it. The manifesting, so manifesting I love it, and putting it out there, that's that momentum that can happen, and be very specific on your dreams and those goals, smart, specific, measurable, achievable, and have some timing about them. The timing's critical. So, yeah, I guess I'll just probably talk about that one. And then the second one for me, which I will, is leverage. Leverage. I'm highly technical. The guys here would attest to that, and I probably stick my nose in a little bit too much still. I'm aware of it. I do pull myself back at times, but that's why you have those people so that you can actually, spend a little bit more time on the business rather than in it. I mean, I'm very lucky that I can do, I'll clean the floor and the toilet and I can actually steer the ship. But if you're away from the helm, the ship steering itself. And whilst it can do it in the calm waters, when the storm comes, it needs a captain. So, just think about the leverage side of things. Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, mate. Paula, give him a hand, everyone. Well done, Scotty. Thank you. Paula, 1, 2, 3, what do you got?
My first one would have to be understanding your own strengths and weaknesses. That was one thing that I had to do pretty quickly to take on a business that I knew nothing about. So that would be, and I guess it's along the same lines as with the belief systems and understanding that iceberg flip chart that Bruiser has. My second one would be really embracing what you do with your board packs. When we first started in board and Bruiser told us to write a board pack, I would curse him for a month before the meetings. Whereas now it's the main tool that we use to understand where our business is at, and it's actually not writing it for Bruiser anymore, it's writing it for John and I to see where we're at, and that's how we set our goals and prepare for growth through our board packs. And my third point would be to make sure that through your coaching journey that you also have an amazing buddy or buddies like we have. We couldn't be where we are today without the buddies that we've had. They keep us accountable for so much more. Bruiser keeps us accountable every 90 days, but we're meeting weekly with our buddies, and that has made such a big difference to our business.
Well done. Give her a hand, everyone. Thank you, Paula. Last one. Ryan, what do you got?
Try and come up with some stuff that hasn't already been said, because they've all got really good points and I had a few of them in there. But the first one for me is run your business off the numbers and not emotion. So it's removing that emotion out of your decisions. And sometimes, like if you've got a cancer in your arm, you've got to be prepared to cut that off, and that's a hard decision to make. But if you are running it on the numbers, it's a lot easier to make those hard decisions. Number 2 would be embrace perturbation. Like Scott said earlier, the entrepreneurial journey is not easy. If it was, everyone would be doing it. So it's embrace that perturbation, and it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. You're just going to have to push through it. But when you do push through, you're a bigger person, you're a better person once you come through on the other side. And the third one, Bruce, would definitely be for me is the more you learn, the more you earn. Like every time I've invested in myself, that keeps coming back.
Well said. Love that. Give him a hand, everyone. Well done, Ryan. So we're going to get a maximum of 2 people on each microphone. If you've got a burning question to one of the presenters up here, please, now's your time. I would like to actually get a couple of people up. If you've not been up, here's your chance, please. Let's go. To that. Let's go. Thanks, Amanda. If you don't get up, these guys will feel really bad, by the way. Righto. Couple over there, one more here, one more there. Right, Amanda, you're up first.
My question's for Ryan. Obviously, with being in the position of selling my current business, it up until now has been my baby, and there's, as much as I know it's what needs to be done, every now and then the little thoughts creep in of, maybe I should keep it, maybe not, I don't know. But how, you said in that first 6 months after selling your helicopter business, you felt what you felt. What were those things, and how did you then push through to know that you did do the right thing to move forward?
Yeah, so I suppose one of the biggest things, and Bruce has possibly mentioned this to most people in the room, but for me, my identity had to shift. So, that was my whole identity. I was a helicopter pilot. I was flying, and that's how I knew most of my people that I'd worked for, and that's how I was known by many. So to make that shift, it's like you literally have to rebrand yourself. You're a whole new entity now. So that was a tough one, and I think that one took the 6-month period. But the big thing for me was keeping busy. So always having something to do that you're aiming at, just little goals that you're knocking over. it's very easy to set a big, audacious goal out here, but it's very hard to get to. But if you set 10, just keep knocking those little ones over, and you'll be there before you know it.
Yeah.
Well said. Thanks,
Thank you.
Amanda. Give her a hand, everyone. Well done. Yes, sir. Who to?
Mine's for Ryan as well. Do you feel doing all of this has worked well in a business in the agricultural industry?
Yeah, definitely. Like so many of the people I talk to, I try and encourage into this. I mean, there's some people here in the room that I've helped try and encourage to come down, and I'm sure that they'll be able to tell you the same thing, that this process, that's one thing about this, it's a process, or it's a journey, it's not an event. It's not going to happen overnight. It's like, what am I, 4 years now, Bruce? And I've changed immensely, like from where I was 4 years ago to where I am now. It's insane how much growth and how much development and change I've gone through. It's very much something that you just got to keep working on, and that's Bruce talks about momentum a lot, and he gives a great analogy of a merry-go-round, and it's about starting that, and the hardest part is starting it. Once you get it going, it's very easy to keep it going. So it's once you're in there, it's a lot easier to stay in than get out and start again.
Thank you. Give him a hand. Well done. Yes, sir. Who's it to? Tell me not Ryan.
It's no. I was going to just go to the panel. To be honest, I'd
Okay.
love to know from the group what, with the experience and the journey that you've been on, looking back on it, what do you wish you'd done faster? Or what did you wish you'd implemented faster or got on board with quicker?
I can.
So the question is, what these guys wish they'd done faster?
What should you have implemented quicker or got on board with quicker?
Okay. Who's
I
going?
would have, for years, when I was a lot younger, I used to read a lot. And when we first started business, you just get so involved in it all, you forget to keep learning. A couple of years ago, I started reading again, which was amazing. Always loved it as a kid. And one of Bruce's mentors, Keith Cunningham, he says business is an intellectual sport. And probably the only way that I know to get smarter would be to read books. So I try to read as much as I can. I wish I'd probably started earlier. Probably would have made a lot less mistakes, that's for sure.
Anyone else? Marie, Scotty, Paula?
Yeah, I'll just chime in there. I mean, Chris mentioned earlier, it's about metrics and measures. If you won't measure, you can't manage, you won't get results. Man, that's so powerful. Just do it soon.
Marie, you got one?
I was going to say, start your wealth creation as soon as you can. Even just putting away a small amount of money every week, it all adds up. And, it's something we instill in our children. And I think it's something that I wish I'd started earlier. But it's just something you've just got to do. Just put it away, put it out of sight until it reaches a figure that you can do something with. And that doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be hundreds of thousands of dollars to start your wealth creation.
Awesome. Thank you. Give him a hand. Well done. Thank you. Last few. Mitch, I think you were there first.
G'day, Mitch from AMG Electrical in Kingaroy. Question's probably for Scott and Chris, you might have something to say about it. I suppose the dynamic of scaling your business from sort of that, I think you said, Scott, 1.8, sort of up to north of 10, and Chris maybe running across different sites. Like, I suppose, what was the main shift, I suppose, you had to learn as far as like skills from yourself, because it's obviously just a very different job running a business at say 2 million to 10 million. I'm guessing they're a very different set of skill sets. So I suppose what were the main changes, I suppose, or things you had to learn to sort of get from A to B?
Yeah, thanks for the question, mate. I guess for me is we from an early stage, we did do some strategy. So early in the first year, I did it. I led the team, very small team. The next year I had someone else facilitate doing some like plan on a page work. And engagement with that very small team early on, we were sourcing ideas on on growth. At some point, at the low points, we were sourcing ideas on what we could do differently to maintain some cash flow, and then developing process and system. Once processes and systems in place, we need to match people to it. So early on, you need to have organisation, I guess, and then, low numbers. Numbers are just zeros. Everyone needs to think about that as zeros. And then the more numbers you have, I guess it's more team and more leverage you need to have to be managing that. Okay, so there is some critical points. I mean, Bruiser helps me through that. I mean, I thought I could do effectively what you can do, and realistically you can't. I mean, you're one person. There's plenty that you should be doing that you're not, and your only reason you're going to get to do that is have a look at the pie chart of time you've got, and then take something out, give it to someone else, and then you can fit something else in. So the challenges is that out of the business, working out of the business, my challenge personally anyway, if you wanted to know, and I think that's what you're asking, is getting from working out of the business to having spent some time on the business. Trust in people selection, the right people in the right roles, doing the right work. Sounds easy, and it's not, I understand that, but that is very important, and that is also very, very rewarding. So the multiple geographic locations, for me, that's communication, and I'm familiar with the territory. So and make that means of communication. Allow those people in those areas to travel and mingle and get to know those other people in the other areas. So it's just when the phone call is just a phone call away, you can just imagine that you're in front of that person. So that is a communication thing, for sure. And then when we talked about when we were small, developing those systems and processes, then you go and implement it at the next branch and the next branch. And yeah, sure, there's a different flavour. I mean, if you ask 10 people how to do something, you'll get 10 different answers. But it's not a democracy when you're starting that out. Like, implement it first and then do the improvement or the value add, as in make it better along the way. So yeah, we done that work early. Yeah. Chris?
Thank you. We're gonna have to crank here, you guys. Chris, I know you got an answer. You guys can take that offline.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mitch. Give him a hand, everyone. Well done. Righto, Lockie. Make it punchy.
Great question there, Mitch. That was mine, mate.
Give him a hand, everyone. No. You got anything else?
No, I just wanted to know what dynamics went into growing your team from a team you inherited when you bought a business to something that's turning over 15 million. Yeah, was where I was at.
Yeah, look, it's a massive change, I guess. And from that mum and dad business, they had 2 PCs. I mean, there was one laptop and another laptop. I mean, they talked about this stuff over the dinner table. I took this business on without a wife that was, the better half and the accounts manager and the BDR and all that sort of thing. So there's certainly a massive amount of dynamics and then splitting up the roles. And those people are not there anymore. One came back, which was beautiful. It's amazing. So, and they sometimes will resist this Germany. It had to change because I couldn't manage it the same way that it was. Unfortunately, I was only one person, so I had to really rely on people to manage. So the belief of the systems will run the business and then putting the people to that, it has to be. You just have to get on that. It's like a cloud. You'll float along. And once you set it up and then once you look up over your nose and see what's happening, the momentum's there and it'll just carry you. So I know we've got to go.
Thank you. Give him a hand. Thanks, well done, Lockie. Last one, Div. Make it quick.
Divya from GD Watermark in WA. This one's for Paula. Just wanted to applaud you on thriving through the adversity. Just wanted to find out, did you have to change your identity when you were transitioning from one business to a completely different one? Just wanted to understand what went through your head.
Oh, look, I had to change my identity from just becoming a person with 2 legs to one leg. First, I had to get over some big belief systems that I couldn't be the same person that I was before I lost my legs. So that was a huge journey for me personally that I had to undertake whilst in hospital. I guess because I had overcome that identity and had done a lot of work around, I was still the same person. I was just missing a few bits. That helped me then to go from a cleaning business to a framing business. But the drive for me, I think, was just to be able to work with people again and to be able to help others to understand and be able to better themselves, because if I could do it, I'm sure I can teach everybody to do what it was to get through little things, not as big as losing a leg.
Thank you.
Well answered. Thank you. Very good.